Alrighty YouTube, it's your boy Zxous, and we're back with another Goddess of Victory Nikke video. And in today's video, we're going to be going over I'm revamping this. So usually if you're new to the channel, every month, at the start of the month, I make a tier list of characters you must have, right? But people find it difficult to understand what I mean by that. So I think I'm going to revamp it into just a tier list based on whatever manufacturing class they're in. So in this one, this is obviously the one for TETRAs. Then the next video will probably be the one for Mystilis, another one for Alicia, another one for Pilgrim, another one for Abnormal, and then so on, right? And then from, I guess, October, the tier list video will be all in one of just different tabs. So I'm going to be breaking down why everybody is like, not everybody, but like why characters are in their tier here on the TETRA one. And that's really it. So make sure you guys subscribe and like. The reason why I'm explaining it, I guess, is just so that you have a reason and understanding of why I put them there. So yeah, make sure you guys subscribe and like, and let's get into it. So the tiers we have here, pretty straightforward. We have S, 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 A, B, C, D. I think if you were making a tier list, those are the fair tiers. Obviously SS is just above and beyond, like damn near just broken. SS is broken. S is almost broken, but just not there. A is pretty good, B is decent, C has use, and then D is just useless realistically. Or like they could have a use-ish, but just not really that good. So if you guys notice, I also got this idea from another YouTuber named Nagato on the Grand Cross scene. On his tier list, what he usually does is when there's characters that are just better with investments, he actually adds two versions of them, one with a $, as you can see some characters have, and then a regular version in different tiers. So in SS, as you guys see, Anise and Alice are in are with the $sign there, because I feel like Anise and Alice are two characters who, more Alice than Anise, but needs investment to really be good, right? I know a lot of people hype up Alice, but if Alice isn't really invested, she's not really SS tier, I don't feel like. And the same goes for Anise. I mean, realistically, what it is for Anise is that you need privity, right, if you're not fully investing into her. But if you're fully investing into her, you don't need privity. So essentially you need another character if you're not fully investing into her, and then if you are fully investing into her, you don't need another character. That's why I put the regular Anise in S tier. Maybe I should slap it in high S, because realistically Anise is just the SS tier regardless. But the problem is you need to have another character named Privity, which isn't really that big of a deal because she's free to play, but obviously maybe you don't want to run Privity, so there's that. And then again, Alice, I think Alice is still quite decent even if you don't have the investment. I just wouldn't really recommend, I mean, really realistically, I'm gonna put her in low S. I wouldn't really recommend using Alice if you're not investing into her, but that's really it. For Blanc and Noir, they just are the best like overall supports in the game, if that makes sense, right? Blanc, max HP increase, indomitability every 20 seconds if paired up with Noir, and then Noir attack buff, reload, reload bullets, increase mag, right? Very, very good characters. These two characters actually cater to the characters who need some type of support, whether it's like how much ever bullets they need to shoot. That's where Noir comes in. Just damage dealt buffs, and then healing, right? I forgot. Blanc is one of the best healers in the game as well, right? So I think Blanc and Noir together and even individually are just SS tiers, right? So in S, we already kind of talked about Anise. Dala, very good. She has CDR, which is cooldown reduction, and then she also does have an attack buff. She also has other buffs, like I believe it's attack, crit rate, and crit damage, depending on how much times you use her burst skill specifically. Let me pull it up for Dala. I believe it's how much times you use her burst skill, right? So when you enter a full burst, then you get cooldown reduction, but depending on how much times you use her burst skill, you are going to get additional buffs like an attack buff, crit rate, and crit damage. And then every other 5 seconds after the first 10 seconds, all allies are just getting their attack increased, right? So this is clearly just like the best attacking supporter, right, overall for long, short, all types of content, because she's just going to always be proccing her stuff, right? Or she's going to be at least the most efficient, right? Rupee is just a worse version of Dala in terms of that. I feel like Rupee is giving herself an attack buff, and she is one of the hardest hitting burst 2 DPSs in the game. There's not many, so it's not really saying much there, but she definitely is. She does give an attack buff on her burst skill when she's fully stacked up on her mileage buff, which is her own attack buff. So she stacks attack herself for herself, and then when her stacks are fully stacked, then she will give all allies full stacks. Not full stacks, but an attack buff right there, right? Noise is a fantastic character. She's a great healer, increases max HP. She is also a taunter, right? You can actually control her taunt too, because she taunts anytime you use a full charge. She has damage taken to all enemies when attacked 20 times, which is not bad because again, she taunts when you use a full charge. So in terms of just supporting, in terms of healing and, you know, helping your team stay alive, she's easily going to be one of the best characters. I think the only real problem for her is that she's a 40-second cooldown unit. If she was 20 seconds, she'd be much better. And then, yeah, I guess we already talked about Alice. Now, Novel. The reason why I have an invested version of Novel in A is because I don't find Novel to be useful at all in this game unless you're specifically fighting bosses. And the only reason that is because she increases damage taken when fully stacked to one enemy. So when it comes to literally bosses, damage taken increased by 67.5% is going to be very good for characters who are nukers or just boss damage dealers and stuff like that, right? But you need to invest into her to get there, right? Even at level 1, it's 33%. At that point, there's no point of using her because Blanc also has damage taken, but to all enemies as well, right? So you kind of just need to fully invest into her burst skill there. That's why there's a $sign there. Realistically, besides that, she's not really useful, in my opinion, right? I guess she's lowering defense by 7%, but that's at full skills again. Not really that crazy, right? At level 1, it's at like 3.52. So it's really just her burst skill there, right? Mary is a great character. Really what's carrying Mary in A tier is her heals, right? Because she has other effects that are catered to water-coded allies. But in my opinion, that's not really that crazy, right? Because there's nothing like... There's no really good water code allies that are dealing damage. That's what I'm trying to say, right? Realistically, like the hardest hitting water code ally is Dorothy, and she's a support character. Think about that for a second. It's literally Dorothy, and Dorothy's a support character, right? I mean, I guess you have Vesty, I guess you have Privity. Technically, you have Helm as well, even Viper. But these guys are just not like insane damage dealers, right? Even though Privity is an attacker, her main role is support. Even though Helm is an attacker, her main role is support, right? Vesty, she does damage, but you really want to use her against a boss. And then Viper is also just like a worse version of Rupee, literally. So honestly, what carries Mary is the simple fact that she heals anytime you enter a full burst. So you don't actually have to use her burst skill, but if you do use her burst skill, she will be giving an attack buff to water code enemy or allies, but also a max HP buff. So definitely keep that in mind. Biscuit is a great character. I want to say when she's with defenders. I mean, she's a great character for supporters and attackers as well, but the real reason you're using Biscuit is for the defenders, right? When defenders HP fall below 50%, Biscuit actually not increases them, but she makes them immune for 5 seconds and recovers HP, and this can happen twice a battle. So in PvP, her being a rocket launcher as well makes it very, very good, right? And even just in general content, I don't think many people use Biscuit in general content, but you definitely can use her because again, she caters to all allies, right? Regardless if it's a support, if it's an attacker or defender, they just get different effects, but she does, right? Support allies get 43% attack buff, right? That's great for characters who are disguised as supporters but are really attackers, or I guess who are disguised as attackers but really supporters, like Anise and Dorothy, right? Remember, Anise, this summer Anise is also a supporter, so she benefits from this big time. And then she also increases or heals every ally basically. So very, very nice character. Volume's a great character for cooldown reduction, and she also has crit buffs, right? She does crit damage buffs and crit rate buffs. So she gives a crit rate buff when you use her burst skill, crit damage buff depending on how much time you use her burst skill, and then also cooldown reduction, how much times you enter a full burst, right? Damn, I'm literally remembering all the kits without looking at them, right? So yeah, when you use her burst skill, all allies get crit damage buff. That stacks, by the way. depending on how many times you enter a full burst, cooldown reduction. When you use her burst skill, she gives crit chance. She does also give herself an attack boost because she is an attacker, but I don't really care about all that. I'm not using her for her damage. I'm just using her for her support. So overall, very good support. And then Ludmilla, very good tank in the game. Anytime you enter a full burst, 15 seconds, she taunts and she has damage reduction, right? Very, very good tank, right? She also does lower attack and defense of the enemy when the last bullet hits, which could be quite useful. But realistically, what makes her shine is the second skill where she taunts for 15 seconds and has not negative, but 57% damage taken decrease for 15 seconds. Very, very good. Now for these characters, it's just going to go very quickly. There's only a couple things that they have going for them. Now Sakura is a good character when it comes to wind-coded enemies, mainly train. I want to say, like, her whole kit is really meant for the train, right? I don't feel like you're going to use Sakura outside of that, even though she does cater to wind-coded enemies as well, so maybe you could use it in story. But when you use her burst skill, all allies have their damage dealt by wind-coded enemies decreased by 90% for 30 seconds, and you can only use it one time, which is crazy. And they actually get their attack increase for 10 seconds by her attack. So literally, that's the only reason why she's in B. It's really because of this part right here for the train. But besides that, her stacking defense for all allies is pretty nice as well. Not really needed, but it is going to be nice for, you know, those characters who need the defense. And then she also does lower burst skill cooldown as well, and also increases damage to a projectile. So she is quite useful, but the thing is, her main use is just train. Her kit is clearly just catered towards one specific content. Even though it says wind-coded enemies, the rest of her kit clearly just screams train. And yeah, Nero's a fantastic taunter and defender in the game. The only problem is you need to have Rapunzel with her, realistically, right? I mean, I know people say Pepper as well, but Rapunzel is really the only character that can have you go efficient. She needs to be healed consistently, and there's only one character who could do it consistently that actually works with Nero's kit. Sugar is a great character when it comes to shotguns, but that's really it. I believe she increases her own attack speed by a big amount, so when it comes to damage, she actually will perform quite decently. But she's really just a support to shotgun allies with the hit rate. Realistically, not going to use her unless you're using a shotgun comp, right? Arya is just a crit. I guess you could say she's the worst version of Volume, right? She is a crit supporter as well, but her numbers are just not really that crazy overall, right? Viper is an okay unit. Like I said before, she's just the worst version of Rupee because she also does have the attack buff to all allies when the target appears for 10 seconds. So that's really when the boss appears. Not really that useful. She actually does prevent herself from being hit from single target attacks when you enter a full burst, so that could be useful. But it's not useful for her because she's not really giving much in it. Does that make sense? She's not giving much for her to like be invincible. If that was some for any other ally, then I feel like that would be much better, but in my case, it's not really that crazy. Yan, I'm not really sure if Yan should be in V tier or not. Like, she has her uses, right? When you enter a full burst, all allies get charge damage, but that's only catered to characters who have charging effects. So sniper rifles and rocket launchers, right? And then when you use a full charge, all allies get a very low attack buff and crit rate buff. These are all level 10 skills, right? 1.33%, 2.77%, practically nothing. Then her burst skill is supposed to just do damage, but she can actually move all enemies into the center. So that is nice as well if you need it, but you're not really going to need it. Her biggest feat realistically is just the charge damage, and that's going to be good. That's going to be useful for characters like Alice, the upcoming A2, and characters who need the charge, right? So realistically, I'm going to put Yan in C, right? Novel, we already talked about. Oh, I guess we missed Milk, right? Let me pull up Milk. Now, Milk is going to be useful, I want to say, after the first 20 seconds, because it takes 20 seconds for her to give this big attack buff to two allies with the highest attack, right? And it's going to be going on and off every 10 seconds, right? So it lasts for 10 seconds. You have to wait 20 seconds for it to proc. Once it procs, it will last for 10 seconds, and then you have to wait another 10 seconds to proc it again. So after the first 20 seconds, then it will proc every other 10 seconds, essentially, right? When her HP is above 80%, all allies do have their crit damage increased by 11.13% permanently. If this was crit rate, I would love it much more. If this was actually crit rate, I would love it so much more. But because it's crit damage, it's okay to me. But if it was crit rate, it would have been beautiful. And then her burst skill, 40 seconds, doesn't do that much damage, and I guess restores HP off of her attack, or I guess the attack damage. So it's not that crazy. So she restores 16.16% of attack damage from her burst skill for 10 seconds, or I guess just attack she does in general. So not that bad, but she does have her uses, right? The attack buff is great, and then the crit damage is good as well. But if it was crit rate, I would have probably put her in A tier. So let me go down to Freema, because I think we talked about Yan, right? I have to pull up these kits because I don't remember all these kits off the top of my head, right? Not for every character. My brain is not that big, right? Activates after landing 4 normal attacks, affects targets, decreases defense. It's okay, but I feel like damage taken rather than defense is just better. So there's that. Increases all allies max HP by 6.09% for 5 seconds when used a full charge. That's going to be useful for characters like 2B who actually benefit from having their max HP increase. I mean, technically that's going to benefit everybody because the more HP, the better. But it's not like I'm putting her on the team because I actually need max HP. I think the only reason why I'm going to be using Freema is literally if I want my max HP increase, where 9 times out of 10 I don't. The only time I'm going to want my max HP increase like this is if I'm using her with 2B, and she's still probably going to be a last option because for 5 seconds and 4 seconds on her burst skill, it's just not enough time. So realistically, Freema is C. Now, the Xmas Rupee, one thing I don't like about this Rupee is the simple fact. One thing I hate about it is that you have to re-enter the burst skill stage 1. What that means is not only are you forced to use 2 burst 1 characters because it's going to use her burst skill and then go back into it, so you have to use another burst 1 character, but you are forced to use another 20-second burst 1 character because if I have a 40 seconds and I go into the second burst rotation, I'll use her burst skill, enter the burst 1 again, and if I'm on a 40-second cooldown, 20 seconds will be remaining and I'll be stalling. It's not that great of a kid there. But she does actually increase reload speed by a big amount. 63% for 10 seconds is no joke. But the only problem is this, you kind of like are forced to build a team around her, and then if you don't have that many good options, it just becomes iffy. She's not that great, right? She does increase defense to all allies when the last bullet hits by 19% for 5 seconds. Again, defense is not really that crazy. I don't feel like a defense buff. I would never use a character for just a defense buff for my allies, realistically, right? At least not in today's meta. And then she stacks defense as well. 1.33% stacks up to 4 times. That lasts for 20 seconds. Like, I'm good, right? She's not really that great of a character. She's not. Mary is an okay. I mean, Mary is not that crazy either, right? She's supposed to be a healer, like the original Mary. She's supposed to be a healer, but the problem with her is that she only really heals 1 ally, right? Because her burst skill's on a 40-second cooldown, right? And there's just better options, right? Like noise, for example. But if I want her heal on the burst skill, then sure. But 40 seconds, I don't really like that. HP potency could be very good for this upcoming A2, right? Because she's a character where you need to keep her HP above 40%. So a lot of these characters with the HP potency, which is basically HP received buff, is going to be very useful for that specific character. But besides that, I mean, HP healing is also like, HP potency is also good in general. That's just more heals. But her specifically, she's only healing 1 ally with the lowest percentage, and that's when the last bullet hits. So, and it's only by 8% of her max HP. She's not really that crazy. Ray is a free character. She was okay. I think she was a decent free character. The decoy is like probably her biggest feat, but the problem is her entire kit kind of just surrounds around that decoy. So the moment the decoy dies, right, her kit just goes away. Right, that's literally it. That's the only reason why she's C. If her decoy dies, which could die quite easily, unless you invest into her, I guess, because remember her decoy actually has HP based on the final. Wait, creates an avatar with 96% of casted. Yeah, so the more HP Ray has, the tankier her decoy is, but when the decoy dies, like Ray basically dies, her kid's gone. So there's that. So to make this go a bit faster, I'm just gonna read the kit and then summarize it for the characters that I forgot. So this is Exia. The only thing about Exia is that she's not really that crazy. I mean, when the last bullet hits, she decreases attack and defense for 5 seconds if she is in the collecting hacking code, which actually does give her a massive attack buff, right? But the problem with Exia is that she's a supporter. So she's kind of meant to be like a DPS, I guess. That's what they were going for with her. She's kind of meant to be a DPS supporter. And it's just not working out for her, right? The attack buff is quite nice, but you have to kind of invest into her for that. And it is when the last bullet hits. So after 6 attacks, it takes 1 time to... She's a sniper, right? It takes 1 second to charge. After 6, that's 6 seconds there. It takes 2 seconds to reload. That's 8 seconds there. So every 8 seconds, you're going to be getting a stack, basically. And it lasts for 15 seconds, so it will be permanent. But Exia is kind of meant to be a damage dealer, and she's just not doing damage. Now, Soda, the only issue with Soda, her kit is actually pretty decent. She just takes too long to get it off, right? She needs to land 180 normal attacks to increase the max HP that stacks up. 180 normal attacks is just a bit too much. Every 12 seconds, she's going to be healing all allies. Not really that crazy. She's only going to be healing them once every 12 seconds, right? By very low numbers as well. And then her burst skill, like the only cool thing about her burst skill is the stat count buffs for anybody who needs that. But realistically, not that great of a character. She is so lucky she's not in even D tier. But I think she has her uses. Coco's best feat is literally just what? Cleansing, right? She actually does remove a debuff from 2 allies with debuffs randomly. She also does heal. Well, she doesn't heal, right? But covers HP. So the blue bar over your HP, every 15 seconds, she actually recovers that. Of her HP, I believe, right? It's of her HP. I guess this is wrong. It's not just covers HP. It recovers 17.76% of cover HP of her HP, right? That's the difference there, right? So they messed up here on Pride Win, but it is of her HP. Let me just double check. No, I guess I got it wrong. I swear it was like that, but no, I guess it's correct. So she does just recover 17.76% of cover's HP every 15 seconds, and also removes an ally's 2 allies debuffs. But the only thing is, it's every 15 seconds, and 17% at level 10 skills is ridiculous. Literally at like level 5 skills does it by like 40% or something. At level 1 skills it's 9. Not really that beneficial. She does have sustained damage to herself. That stacks up to 15 times when attacking with a full charge. So that's gonna keep her alive. But realistically, her whole thing is really the cleansing, right? I mean the recovers HP covers HP is nice as well, but her whole thing is cleansing, realistically. And then Folkwang, I think Folkwang is actually a decent character, right? Realistically, I think I would move her up in B tier. I think she's a decent character. It's just she's not like for her thing takes too long. 30 seconds to what? Proc a shield and increase HP potency by 45% is crazy, but every 30 seconds is ridiculous. Every 20 seconds she taunts for 5 seconds and increases her own max HP by 44%. It's ridiculous, right? Like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and 40 seconds. Every 40 seconds, she gains a shield to 2 allies with the highest attack. Protecting 2 allies with the highest attack, I guess. And then restores... Well, she gives a shield to herself, right? And then restores 2 allies HP, right? But the problem with her is 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and 20 seconds. She just takes too long to do everything. So, high C, low D, or low B. And then to sum it up, Rosanna literally just doesn't work. Right, Rosanna's whole kit is that she gets stronger the more the allies, your allies are dead. It's just not a good kit, right? She's just not good. She literally gets stronger the more allies that are dead. That's horrendous. She's just not a good character whatsoever. Her damage is okay on her burst skill, but it's like, I'm not bringing a character who's only good when my allies are dead. Right? It's just... She has no real value. And PvP, sure, but you kind of need to invest into her. Maybe I could have given her the $, but she's just not really that good, realistically. And then for Yulha, like Yulha is like just such a weird character. Like, look at her kit. When attacked 30 times, when she is attacked 30 times, she gives herself a crit rate buff by 24% for 20 seconds. Cool. every 30 seconds, for 5 seconds, she'll give 5 allies, right? All allies with the lowest HP, so everybody on your team, a big attack buff though. 90% is crazy, but every 30 seconds, every 30 seconds is a bit too long. If that was like 10 seconds, easily top of the game. 90% attack buff is insane. You know what? Because it's 90% and that's just insanely huge, I'll put her in low C. And she also has shared damage taken for 10 seconds. So this second skill is literally her best feat. That burst skill, I mean, if she is under that skill too, it might be very useful. But realistically, nah, because she only gets this additional damage if she's, you know, under this effect where she has to be attacked 30 times. But because of this massive attack buff, every 30 seconds for only 5 seconds, I'll give her the low C tier. So this is going to be the tier list and explained for the TETRA characters. I'm going to try to add one of these every day for the month of September. And then starting from October, the videos will just be one video of me adding the character to the tier list. If they are, you know, either moved up or down. And then also if the new character is a part of that tier, I guess if the new character is a part of that tier list, I'll just slap them in that tier list. But if not, then you guys won't get a tier list video for that class. So if in the month of October or the month of September, we get a TETRA and then abnormal, well, let me not say abnormal. Well, I guess we have abnormal. So let's say abnormal and TETRA characters. In October, if we only got in an abnormal and TETRA character in September, in October, the videos will only be abnormal and TETRAs, and then you guys won't see a video for the other classes because there's no changes. Unless there is a change there, I'll probably just address it in one of those videos, but realistically, you guys will not see a tier list video of those characters if there's no new additions to that class. So hopefully this video was helpful for a lot of people because I did go through everybody and explain them. But yeah, I want to say this week I'll have all the classes out of these, and you guys let me know what characters you would move and why, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out. Peace.